Hi, everybody. I'm delighted to be with you in the Zoomiverse. Someday I hope to visit you in person, but isn't this great that we have this opportunity to meet with each other via Zoom as well? So let's get romping with my message. What now? So give me a second to pull up the PowerPoint. I'd like to share some thoughts with you. So you already know I have a website at paulhasselbeck.com. That's where you can find the weekly blog, The Absolute Word. I have my podcast, metaphysicalrom2.com. Also available on Stitcher and all of those aggregators. And I have an email address, howardhasselbeck@gmail.com. And I give you that because if you like these slides, if there's something in here you want, you can email me, and I will also send these to the church after the service so that they can be distributed that way. And have your cell phone on hand because you might want to take a picture of a slide as I go along. So let me get my fingers in the right place. Here we go. What now? And isn't that what it feels like at this time of the year for sure? We got Christmas over, we got New Year's coming, and with this year we've had, what's the new year going to look like? What now? And don't we say that when untowards or events we weren't expecting, especially negative ones, don't we go, what now? And there's these other phrases. Maybe some of you remember Rosanna Dana, like, it's always something. This was a year of it's always something. And she says, there's always something. Well, isn't that true? It's kind of a profound statement. If there isn't something, you're probably dead. And if it's not one thing, it's another. I love that one. And of course, my very favorite is never mind when I got something wrong. And then there's this one. Have you noticed how popular this is? It is what it is. And people say it with a sense of resignation. It is what it is. What am I going to do about it? Here it is. Now what? But in unity, in new thought, we don't stay at it is what it is, because we know that it's what we call it. Whatever we decide it is for ourselves and our consciousness. If we think it's a negative thing, we will tend to see it negatively and collect all the evidence that it's negative. But if we call it a good thing, we can collect the evidence. We can look for ways to use even that thing for good. Charles Fillmore said, our dominion is over our own thoughts, emotions, and passions. Now, that's a simple statement, but I hope you get the depth of that statement. Our dominion, your dominion, my dominion is over my own thoughts, emotions, and passions. I say it this way. No one or no thing has any power over your thoughts, emotions, or passions. So read this with me and replace the word your with my. No one or no thing has any power over my thoughts, my emotions, my passions. Because friends, each of you is the king or queen of your inner dominion of your mind. And obviously, I don't simply mean your thoughts. I mean your thoughts and feelings. I would even say your thoughts, your ideas, your beliefs, your images you hold in mind, your feelings, your emotions, your experiences, and yes, your attitude. Those are all 100% under your control. And then this is kind of another premise. Stumbling blocks at first may seem to be in the physical environment, but closer discernment reveals that they are primarily in the mind. Have you ever noticed that? Well, that's how Charles Fillmore said it. This is how I say it. Stumbling blocks that appear to be in the outer, as in the outer realm, are primarily in my mind as thoughts and feelings. And when we're in that that questioning of that stuff happening, that it is what it is, that what now I'm putting my focus on an outer thing. And I think that outer thing has power over me. And yeah, there can be outer physical stumbling blocks and problems. But the way they stay in our way is by not changing our thinking, where you and I have absolute dominion. And so that leads me to this concept. And this comes from Job. Thou shalt decree a thing and it shall be established. Dot, 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 in consciousness. And once you establish it in consciousness, you begin to build up thought and feeling substance. And when you do that, you start to see things differently. And ultimately, you're moved to take some sort of action. Now, that's the way it's said in the King James. Another version says, what you decide on will be done by you, and you will decide on a matter and it will be established in your consciousness. Whatever thought, feeling you're holding in mind or I'm holding in mind, by the law of mind action, I am building up more thoughts and feelings identical or similar to that original seed thought. And so this is why we don't want to be in negativity. This is why we want to be in positivity. And so affirmation, assertion, you want to decree this thing. For me, the word affirmation just might be a little too mamby-pamby. And so it's your choice. And your choice begins where? In your consciousness. Are you going to be apathetic or are you going to be empathetic? Are you going to be apocalyptic or optimistic? Now, most of us Unity folks are naturally optimistic. Just think how optimistic this dandelion had to be, what faith it had to work its way up through this asphalt and turn into this beautiful dandelion. Now, I know some people don't think they're beautiful, but they're a pretty amazing flower. And in these times, when things seem to be apocalyptic, we are called to be optimists. Yes, it's a word. It's in the Urban Dictionary. And I'll define it with more ministerial words. An apocalyptimist is a person who knows the world's going to hell in a handbasket and still knows, still has the faith it's going to turn out all right. And so when we concentrate on what's happening, it's important as a starter, but we got to move to that. What am I going to name it? What are you going to name it? What are we going to call it? And it might be important to ask why. But often, why this is here or why this is happening to me or to you, we tend to move down into the lower states of consciousness. We get into victim consciousness. Why, poor little me? And while these questions are starters, those are not the most important question. The most important question is this one. How? How can I use even this to bless myself and bless others? How can I use even this to do good in the world? Now, when we ask that question, how can I use this? We jump up to a higher level of consciousness, the victor consciousness, hopefully into that verity consciousness where we know that we know our divinity. And so I share with you my theme for 2021. And this is a direct quote from A Course in Miracles, which I studied many, many years ago. Make this year different by making it all the same. Make this year, this coming year, different by making it all the same. You might be going, well, Paul, what do you mean by that? Well, what's really cool about this quote is it's really indirectly referencing that when we're coming from our surface personalities, we think we have to be different for each person we meet and know, and for each and everything that happens, every event that happens, every occurrence. But the truth is, we don't really have to do that. Why? Because we have dominion over our thoughts, ideas, beliefs, images, our feelings, our emotions, our experiences, our attitudes. You and I are the king and queen of what's happening in our consciousness. So, how do we do this? Well, we always have to put God first. We have to start with God. And not only do we have to start with God, we have to define what God is, because a lot of people have different definitions. And often, this is traditionally taken, we put an outside God that lives in heaven first. Well, friends, that is not the unity way. So there's this great quote in the Revealing Word. It's under the entry capital M mind. You've probably heard of capital M mind or divine mind. Here's how Charles Fillmore defines it. Mind. By the term mind, we mean God, the universal principle which contains all principles. The universal principle which contains all principles. And principles are the key to being the very best you can be. But we want to put the principles first. And we don't do it from blind faith. Blind faith is believing in, again, in this external something that will come to the rescue at the last moment, like Superman. We have to work from understanding faith. That's a faith that's based on knowing these principles and knowing the laws of mind, often called spiritual laws. And so here's a few of them. There we are in the middle as a human being. Love is a principle. Generosity is a principle. Benevolence is a principle. And so much more. There's many principles. I've written a book about it called Use the Truth You Know, Unity's Principles and Premises. And we add to that list as we learn more. And so, once again, we have this sense that all of that is outside of us, forgetting that the divine is everywhere totally present. And it's really more like this. No, part of it is in us. No, it's more like this. Every principle that God is totally within you and within me. Totally. Totally. And so what does that mean? That means we're fully divine. We may not be aware of our divinity in its fullness, but we are fully divine and fully human. And so your humanity, your personality is who you are. That's changeable. And that who includes our physical bodies as well. And your divinity is what you truly are. It's the what of you. It does not change. It's utterly dependable. Every principle, every spiritual law of mind is utterly dependable. That's why we need to know what the truth is. If we simply say use the truth, that's too vague. And we all know what happens in vagueness stays in vagueness. So we got to get specific. We got to get specific. And so the way we use this and the way in which we make this year all the same is by putting God first and remembering our divinity. And we can be kind based on the principles of love, benevolence, and generosity. And you know, just like that says, Kindness is like confetti. It goes a long way and it gets everywhere. And we can remember grace, amazing grace. And this is not a grace God provides to us. This is the grace we offer to each other because of our innate divinity. Because I am love. We are benevolence. We are generosity. In that very moment, when we want to use a harsh word, do a mean thing, punish somebody because they didn't do what we thought they should do, in that moment is when we can remember we're divine. Put our divinity first and remember that I am love, I am benevolence, I am generosity. I put my divinity first and I offer grace. And you know, friends, while you're at it, when you catch yourself doing something that you might label bad or stupid or something like that, that's a good time to serve up yourself a good old large dose of kindness and offer yourself grace in the moment. Because when we focus on those negative things, they grow. And through love, benevolence, and generosity, you can shift to being graceful for yourself and others. And then finally, there's another way, and that's forgiveness. Again, forgiveness is motivated from those three principles of love, benevolence, and generosity. When I was studying A Course in Miracles, I got into attitudinal healing, which was founded by Jerry Jampolsky. Here's his definition. Forgiveness happens when I'm willing to let go of any hope of a better past. Isn't that the truth? We are unforgiving in the present because something that happened in the past. In this end of the year, going into the new year, we've got to learn to let go of that kind of stuff. And these have two corollaries that I created. Forgiveness happens when I'm willing to let go of anything I've added to your divinity. Because the truth is, friends, I don't hold your divinity against you. I hold what I've made up about you against you. And I have to release those things so I can enter in to a higher understanding and a higher consciousness. And then the second one is forgiveness happens when I'm willing to let go of everything I've added to my divinity, what I think and feel about myself as a personality. Now, look, parts of our personality are great. In fact, it's your personality that got you to church this morning. But parts of it, I call that my ugly twin. And that's who I give kindness and grace to within me. So, next time you think, what now? How about you think, now what? Now I'm going to remember my what? Now I'm going to remember my divinity. Now I'm going to remember to put my divinity first. So I always put my best foot forward instead of in my mouth. And that's how you and I can make this year different by making it all the same, by starting from the starting point, our own innate divinity, and being kind, being graceful, and being forgiving. And so it is.